Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Time, where we talk about the movies we like.
And the ones we don't.
I'm Tyler,
And I'm Molly.
and this year we are going to be taking a look at Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor, his infamous look at the surprise 1941 attack on Oahu by the Japanese air and sea forces. And look, long story short, this movie's not very good. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. If you really want an in-depth look at the history behind it and all of that, just take a look at the Cynical Historian's video on it. But we're gonna give our take anyways because that's what we do here.
Yes, and I'll just get it out here now. I know, don't hate me, but I know like next to nothing about Pearl Harbor, and I'm sorry about that. So, yeah, so I know nothing. I know nothing.
I know that.
Yeah. So I have no idea what was factual and what wasn't. So, just letting that out there.
Well, I'll tell you what is factual about this movie, about what it got right. There was indeed an attack on Pearl Harbor.
Yes, and that's as much as my knowledge goes.
Yeah, that's this movie is infamous for having lots of historical inaccuracies and all that. Now, stuff I'm not going to harp on is like things like in the opening scene with the crop dusting by Ben Affleck's dad. That wasn't actually a commercial thing until like the year after the scene takes place, or misspellings of airfields or stuff like that. Like stuff like that. Maybe people were illiterate back then or something. I don't know. Point is, stuff like that doesn't really matter to me.
Okay.
But let's get into who's in this movie. Like I said, our main star is Ben Affleck, who plays Lieutenant Rafe McCauley. He's an army pilot, and we don't get a whole lot else from him.
Yep, that's about it.
Josh Hartnett plays his best friend Danny Walker. He's also a army pilot. Oh, I forgot one other thing about them. They're both in love with the same woman, Evelyn Johnson, played by Kate Beckinsale. She is a Navy nurse, which is kind of weird that at one point they're undergoing health eval so that they can make sure that they're good enough to be pilots, and the Army is using Navy nurses and doctors for this when the Army has their own nurses and doctors. I don't know. That's just silly.
Man, I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
Well, the only other service that would be using Navy doctors and nurses would be the Marines, since they don't have them of their own.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, and we get bit parts here and there by character actors such as Alec Baldwin playing real life figure Colonel James Doolittle. John Voight plays President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Cuba Gooding Jr. plays Petty Officer Second Class Dory Miller, the first black man to be awarded the Navy Cross in U.S. Navy history. We also have the late beloved Mako, who plays Admiral Yamamoto, the man who orchestrated the attack on Pearl Harbor. And watching this, I didn't realize this before, but Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa plays Admiral Yamamoto's right-hand man, basically. Most people know Tagawa as Shang Tsung from the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, so that was neat to see him in this.
Sure, yes.
And this is also the movie that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner met on when before they got married. They're not anymore, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, who knows with them.
It don't matter. I guess it does to their kids, but we're not them.
Nope.
Anyways, let's get into this movie. Long story short, this movie is, as the kids call, booty butt cheeks.
Sure. I guess that's what the kids say.
I don't know. You work with more kids than I do.
They do not say that.
Yeah, well, you work with fifth graders. Do fifth graders say things are booty butt cheeks?
They probably, who knows?
I would figure you would.
Okay, let's move on.
All right, so let's get into some of these inaccuracies. So a major plot point in this movie is Ben Affleck's character going over to England and joining the Royal Air Force over there. Now, as a member of the U.S. Army, he would not be able to do that without, well, first of all, resigning his commission in the U.S. Army and finding a way to get over there in the middle of this war zone. Not a very easy task to complete. Now, granted, the U.S. at the time was a neutral country, so it's theoretically possible. But also, here's another thing. He would also have to give up U.S. citizen and swear allegiance to the crown in order to actually join the RAF from the U.S. Army. So this doesn't make sense at all. And he tells his friend Danny that he was ordered to do it. Danny would know that he wouldn't be allowed to do that anyway, since he is also in the U.S. Army. This does not make any sense at all.
Yeah, I guess not. If you know your stuff, yeah, that would not make sense.
Now, U.S. civilians did volunteer to go over and help the RAF fight their war before the U.S. joined. That is true, and it would have made sense had Ben Affleck's character been a civilian, but he wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Also, when he gets to England, he gets shown his Spitfire, the plane that he's going to be flying. It's all shot up, filled with bullet holes, and the blood of the previous pilot is still on the glass. Now, the RAF wasn't short of Spitfires. They had the factories were churning those out pretty well. They were short on pilots, though.
Okay, yeah, so it makes sense he would go over and be a pilot, I guess.
Look, that whole plot point there is just stupid as hell. Not gonna lie to you, buddy.
Okay.
And then we have this whole nonsense with the love triangle. I don't care a lick about any of these people in this movie. Okay, that's a lie. There are like 3 characters that I like in this whole movie. And one of them is one of the bad guys, technically.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard to connect with the characters. They're not very, fleshed out very well.
No, not really. We don't really get much of characterization for them other than they're pilots, or they love a pilot, or there's not much there with these main characters. And the side characters are a little better, marginally. I mean, I could count on one hand the amount of characters I actually like. You got Dory Miller. You get the sense that he is actually facing some real challenges that our main characters aren't, considering he's a black man in the U.S. Navy at a time when it's still segregated.
Uh-huh, sure.
You got Tom Sizemore's character, who plays a mechanic who's honestly pretty fun. Tom Sizemore was always an excellent character actor to watch in things.
Uh-huh, sure.
Admiral Yamamoto, based on the fact of, one, he's played by Mako, who, if you're a fan of Avatar, you'll love him. And 2, it really seems like with his character, he really didn't want to. He really didn't want to get the U.S. involved in this war, but circumstances led to this decision. Now, I'm not entirely sure how that was in real life. Maybe he felt something similar, but you really get the sense that this guy is, well, you really get a sympathetic take on him from this movie, I feel.
Yeah, I guess so. Dude, I'm gonna be honest, I had a lot of problems paying attention during this movie.
That's another thing. This movie is really boring.
Yeah, it is. Very boring.
And that leads me to the last character in this movie who I actively cared about. And it was a dog.
Yeah. That's the only character I cared about.
You know, this furry good boy is just doing his best. He has multiple owners killed, and he's just swimming along in the ocean, and he gets picked up by someone else, and it's like, okay, that dog's fine. I'm fine. which is kind of bad to say, given that this movie is honestly trying its best in regards to paying respect and homage to the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who were killed during Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. So it is kind of like this is a real event that happened. So it, it is very sad and something that we should, remember and pay respect to. But yet, I can't help but saying the movie is boring.
And I've seen some people criticize this movie for having, at one point, one of the sailors say that he can't swim. Now, to be fair, this is actually accurate to the time. A lot of sailors at the time couldn't swim because they were never taught, and it makes sense given that a lot of the time, if a ship went down, they would tell them, "Hey, don't worry about getting rescued. You're just gonna die."
Yeah. I've never understood people who can't swim. That's like, it just comes naturally. Like, how do you just not know how to swim?
I don't know. Maybe GMOs or something. I don't know, man.
I am not sure.
But I've also seen people criticize this movie for making it seem like U.S. service members at the time were a bunch of cocky, arrogant, hotshot guys. Okay, look, newsflash, buddy. A lot of people in the military can be like that. I'm not saying it's all of them, but plenty of the people I've served with are like that. They're just a bunch of dumb kids sometimes. Now, clearly not everyone is like that, but it's not inaccurate to show people like that in the military. So, come on. Chill.
Yeah. I agree with you.
And that's another thing. Basically, everyone in this movie is just sucking America's big fat wiener, saying, "Oh, if there's more people like you back home, God help anyone who goes to war with America." Like, chill. Enough with the America fellatio. I get it. Michael Bay, he's really into showing off America, like promoting it to the best of his ability, and he does a great job at that. But a lot of times it feels kind of patronizing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is about Pearl Harbor, so you're definitely going to expect a lot of pro-American stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I said that the love triangle is a whole bunch of nonsense, but the love story between Ben Affleck and what's-her-face is also, I just don't believe it either. They have like 2 scenes before he's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go off to war and don't come to the train station because I don't want to say goodbye to you twice." But then like he says to his friend, and he says, "Man, I hope she comes because if she does, that means she loves me." Like, and then she does while he's chugging off on his train. It's like that's the kind of stupid stuff that a woman would say.
Okay.
That's a little sexist to say, but you know what? You agreed with me when I said it when we were watching it.
Yeah, I said you're right. That is probably something I would do. Like, tell you one thing and then hope that you do the exact opposite of what I say. Anyways, yes, I agree that their relationship seems very rushed, and yeah, like there's not a lot of chemistry there.
I slightly believe the love story between her and Josh Hartnett's character a little more because honestly, we do see them spend time together. We get to see them develop a little bit better, but I still don't really care.
Yeah, I think her relationship with their relationship was better, and you do see them bond over the trauma of losing Ben Affleck's character. I don't even know his name.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so it is a little bit more believable. I just think it's funny that she falls in love with Ben Affleck, and then whenever he dies, she, gets pregnant by his best friend. But to be fair, she thought he was dead.
And they did wait a few months before, banging.
Yeah. And then Ben Affleck comes back. He's not dead to his girlfriend impregnated by his best friend.
And then his best friend dies as they were doing when they were doing the Doolittle raid, which Side note: this has a whole bunch of historical chicanery to go with it. First off, now it is true that they did have to launch from the carriers early because they were spotted by Japanese fishermen. However, they the, the planes didn't actually fly in formation when bombing. They just all split off and just bombed separate areas of importance. And they were also told not to bomb the Japanese imperial palace because they didn't want to make a martyr of the emperor. At the time, he was a pretty important figurehead, basically God to the Japanese people at the time. That's how the emperor was seen. I'm getting off topic, but it's important to the context of all this.
Okay, continue.
So, they did have to crash in China. That this is true. However, not a single one of the Doolittle raiders were killed while they were bombing Japan. That didn't happen. Nobody died until they got to China, and it wasn't as we saw in the movie. Some of them got captured. 4 of them were executed. Another one died. It was either malnutrition or when his parachute fell. I've seen different sources for this one, but and their bodies didn't even get returned to America. So the part with Ben Affleck bringing his friend's coffin off the plane all dramatically, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Though it is kind of funny when Doolittle ditched, he landed in a big old pile of crap.
Crap.
So that was kind of funny. The less funny, on the other hand, is Japan's reprisal in China after the Doolittle raid. Estimates put the total death toll of Chinese civilians at around 250,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. This was the kind of enemy that we were facing back in World War II. And, it necessitated a kind of kill them all sort of look.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anyway, I wish I could be mad at this movie. I can't. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of another inaccuracy from the Doolittle raid. So Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett's girlfriend, she gets into this area where she's able to listen to radio chatter from the actual raid. That couldn't have happened either because it was radio silent.
Yeah. Lots of inaccuracies.
Yeah, like this whole movie feels like it was written by someone who saw Titanic and said, "I want to do that, but with a different historical event." Throws it at the dartboard. Pearl Harbor. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a lot was made up to help build story that wasn't even there, really.
A lot was made up.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to be mean to the writer of this movie, Randall Wallace. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy. I mean, I like at least one movie he made, We Were Soldiers, and that was pretty historically accurate. So why didn't you do the same thing with this one?
Maybe it wasn't all up to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But there are some good things about this movie. For one, the actual attack on Pearl Harbor is pretty well done. There's a lot of practical explosions, practical planes being flown. And at other points, Ben Affleck, Josh Hartnett, and Alec Baldwin are flying real planes. Kind of like what they did with both Top Guns. They had someone take them up, and then they switched seats, and prior to that, they were given basic piloting instructions so that they'd be able to actually look competent at what they were doing. So it is cool that they're actually flying.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
And this is before Michael Bay went all CGI heavy with the Transformers movies and all that. So, like I said, a lot of practical explosions, effects, and just a lot of practical everything. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, it is always nice to see practical effects and big explosions.
Now, this also leads me to another issue I have with the movie. This thing is rated PG-13. Why?
I don't know.
I feel like that this movie needed an R rating to actually show like the full effects of Pearl Harbor, to show like the amount of damage and just visceral nature of the event. I'm not talking crazy when I say this, am I?
No, I don't think so. Because yeah, having an R rating, you would be able to take it, I think, more seriously to show more stuff. But I don't know. Was this released in a time where PG-13 movies were doing better? I guess.
I don't know. This is released like a few months before 9/11.
Yeah. So, man, I don't know. I was just a little toddler, toddling around.
Okay. All right. So when we were watching the movie, you said that you asked me. I'm not sure if you were serious about it, but you asked me why Matt Damon wasn't playing Ben Affleck's best friend in this.
Yeah, I was joking, but I did ask you that.
Well, he was supposed to play the other character, but he was unavailable.
That is kind of funny. They're just always together, so it was just surprising not seeing Matt Damon as his best friend.
So both Michael Bay and producer Jerry Bruckheimer gave up $4 million in salaries in return for a cut of the profits to get the budget down. The film stars also took a pay cut so that they can get the movie made too. So that's kind of nice that these people are not really necessarily doing this for the money, but because they feel like this is a story that needs to be told. And yeah, they're right. It is. I just wish it was done better, which it has been done better with the movie Tora, Tora, Tora back in the 70s.
Okay, I've heard of that one before. I guess I didn't know it was about Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
Interesting.
Okay, so according to Michael Fassbender, this was the first movie he ever auditioned for.
Cool.
Jim Caviezel was considered for the Ben Affleck role, and Gwyneth Paltrow was one of the first choices to play the Kate Beckinsale character. Charlize Theron also turned down the role.
All right.
Wes Bentley and Ashton Kutcher tried out for the Josh Hartnett character, and Kevin Costner turned down the role of Colonel Doolittle. Gene Hackman turned down the role of President Roosevelt. A lot of people are turning this movie down.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Adrian Brody turned down a role, but he turned it down because he thought it was too small. And the love interest was originally Hawaiian before Kate Beckinsale was cast, and the character was rewritten as an American nurse.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Well, bottom line, this is not a good movie. Just go watch Tora, Tora, Tora. It is a much better depiction of the movie, especially since it's basically a production between American and Japanese studios to show both sides of the war. Now, this movie does show some of the Japanese side, but it's pretty minuscule compared to the American side.
Yeah. And it's pretty clear that they're making the Japanese be the bad guys. So to speak.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the Japanese scenes that we see beforehand, again with Admiral Yamamoto, it's clear that he feels like he's been pushed into this decision. Like, it wasn't absolutely his. Now, I'm not sure how that is in real life, but he is definitely shown in a more sympathetic light than our protagonists.
Yes, yeah.
Make of that what you will.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like Michael Bay was trying to make a good movie. Like, he wanted to tell a story of Pearl Harbor. He wanted to get this story out to more people because as the years go by, we're still losing people from that generation. I don't know how many are left now, but I feel like, yeah, Michael Bay was trying his best to make a good story, but studio executives and all that got in the way.
Dang studio executives.
That's how it be. So, we'll see you next time.
Yep. See you next time.
Maybe we'll do a Christmas movie, or maybe I'll finally get around to editing some of the other stuff we have in the can. Who knows? I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
See you next time.
See you next time.